This your boy Oscino Fly back in another review, and this time continuing my review of these black shows that's coming on Netflix. We are reviewing Sister Sister. I started with Moesha, then I moved on to The Game. Now we're on this Sister Sister. Now, if y'all really don't know the main story of Sister Sister, the show is about two twins separated at birth, gets reconnected in their teenage years, and now living under one roof with their adopted parents in Detroit. Good thing I wrote that stuff down. Had a fond for the Maori twins. I always thought they were beautiful twins to look at. Their twin thing that, you know, a lot of people do when they say stuff at the same time. It was never annoying to me. I always found it cute. Always found them cute. And, you know, even to this day, it's like when I see them, I've always admired like their acting and their comedy skills going on. I know they've had like careers outside of themselves, and even then I thought that they were really good actors. Like, even though I don't like The Game, I thought one of the Maoris, I think it was Tia. Yeah, I think it was Tia, that I always said that she was very good on that show, acting. So with that being said, what do I think of this show watching it? If I could keep it real, I think I like Sister Sister more as an adult than I did as a child. Now, don't get me wrong, like, when the first 3 seasons, there's a lot of childish teenage humor that's there, but there's still sprinkled little adult humors between Lisa and Ray, or Jackie Harry and Tim Reed, which I want to get into. But yeah, the comedy is very lighthearted. It never really takes itself seriously unless it really wants to. But other than that, the comedy is lighthearted. The stuff they get into trouble is very lighthearted. It's never like really get into drama. So one thing I've always said, I'm a big fan of these lighthearted comedies. Not everything has to be serious. Not everything has to be like, oh, one person's a drug addict, one person, you know, just want to prove they work to their father and all that other stuff. This is just lighthearted comedy that, you know, you can like grow up on and your kids can watch. So yes, that is very great. The chemistry of the cast is magnificent. I really like everybody in it. There's not one person I don't hate. I think everybody. This is probably one of the shows where the chemistry is just there no matter who you run into. Whether it's Jackie Harry and Tim Reed, Lisa and Ray, whether it's the Maori twins, whether it's the Maori twins with Marcus Houston, aka Roger, or as people like to say, go home Roger. There's a lot of chemistry in there, and and honestly, it's like I said, it's very lighthearted. But Roger, I will say, Marcus Houston, he made me laugh the most. And for some reason, he made me laugh the most is that, at least in the first 3 seasons, where he was still like the little annoying kid, he had a lot of. He was talking some major grown stuff at a boy that his age shouldn't be talking about, which is really funny because he'll say a lot of stuff that you be like, man, I see why they be kicking him out sometimes. But Marcus Houston, him playing Roger in that role, very hilarious. I think he played that role to a T perfectly. My only gripe is that in the later seasons, they don't use Roger too much, and then matter of fact, at the last season, he's not there at all except for the last episode, which I guess we'll get to that. So, but Roger was one of my favorite characters, and one of my favorite episodes is even with him is actually, I believe, is season 4, episode 1, where the Maori twins all of a sudden, when Roger growed up, it's like, damn, I'm taking a liking to Roger. I really do like Roger. He's kind of hot right now. And you could tell, like, even then, he was like a playboy now. And then the fact that he was playing all these girls that dissed him in one time, I thought that was a real good progressive art from Roger. But at the same time, they couldn't put that annoying Roger on him no more. So he's no more that annoying Roger. But he still wasn't a playboy. But it was just like, you can't go back, and I think they realized that. So he was just there sporadically, especially when they got boyfriends. He was there less and less. But I think it was just that he was trying to get on his singing career. When the show matures, the comedy does. And you can tell even in the way they dress and their hairstyles. Like the first 2 seasons, they kind of acted like you really couldn't tell. In my opinion, the first 2 seasons, they really acted like similar, even though one's supposed to be smart and one is supposed to be the party girl. They kind of act similar in ways, like even especially when it comes to boys, they act similar. It wasn't until I would say the third season where you could tell like the different, instead of like dressing like twins, they try to dress different. You can see Tia's taste is more, it shows to a more intelligent side, and Tamara's is more the party girl side. So like Tamara, I believe, Tamara was more colorful, where Tia she wore a lot of solid colors, if that makes sense to people. But you know, if you don't watch the show, you will understand. Like I said, even though they mature, like it's still lighthearted. Like them talking about, it doesn't really get to that far where it's just like no one's pregnant or not. But you know, they talk about cigarettes, tattoos. They do bring up sex, and I believe they're virgins throughout the whole thing. So not in one time would I think sex was mentioned throughout the whole time, which I'm actually glad they do that, because you know some kids do stay virgins, and then I think that's really good on them that they didn't go too far, but they still matured in the comedy, especially like when they go into college, like their problems still progress and they're mature, but it's never serious. Even though it's more mature, it's still lighthearted. So I like that part of it. As a kid, I never understood like where their parents come from. I think it even skipped my mind that they were adopted. But now that I'm older and I know they was adopted and all that stuff, I finally understand like the story that they told. Even though they talked about it in the first season, the last season, I believe the last season they really got to impress, get everything out there. But I know the fourth season they was trying to figure out who their mother was, and then the last season they finally find their father. And Tamara has one of the funniest lines in there. Is like, not to be rude, but you're white, which is, you know, I didn't know they was mixed either, but you know, they're just black women to me. I feel like the fact that they had a story arc for their parents and who their parents was, I think that was really great. But it never took away from Lisa and Ray. Even when they went to college, it never took away from Lisa and Ray. Lisa and Ray didn't have to add. One thing I will also say that I think is positive, that even though they did go to college, Lisa and Ray was still part of the show. Like, they still made them part of the show where they're just not like afterthoughts. Lisa and Ray are interesting characters in themselves that you're grasped along to them as much as you with Tia and Tamara. One of the cons I do, and I spoke on this, that Roger wasn't utilized in later seasons, because he was still, even though he was like growing up, he was still my favorite. But he was replaced by Dion Richmond, and I can't remember the other dude's name. I think his name was Ron or something like that. But it's gonna pop in my head. But those two, Tyreek and his name is Tyreek in the show. You know, they were good replacements, and they were also funny as well, and they actually had good chemistry and they fit in. But I do want to say, in the title screen in the last season, how they CG they way in there when they was never in there in the first place, I find it fucking hilarious. I think it's, and one more thing, and this is the last like nitpick. I'm not a big fan of the theme song. I honestly thought they had the most annoying theme song in television history. So, but you know, I know a lot of people are like, sister, sister. Like, I like the more, you know, R&B version of it in the fourth and fifth season, where, you know, they're more mature and all that and stuff. But I'm still not a fan of it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when it said skip the intro, I skipped it every time. My little brother wasn't either. He would hold his, like, he hated that theme song. But I thought I was the only one that didn't like it either. But it's not a bad theme song. It's just not one of my favorites out of all of it. Overall, these are one of the comedies that I feel like you remember this in your childhood. I feel like if you're like me, you liked it as a child, you're gonna like it better as an adult. You're gonna like the way everything was constructed throughout the whole season. Even when Lisa getting married, or even when Lisa and Ray tried to do a relationship, it didn't work out. It was like nothing was really forced and nothing was really out of it. Nothing on that show made me go, huh? It was like, oh, why did they do that? Or none of that stuff. It's very wholesome. It's very lighthearted, and I'm glad that I was able to sit through this and not felt like I was forcing myself through the seasons. So, like, I have no problems with this. So, if you haven't binge watched Sister Sister, please go ahead, enjoy yourself. Sister Sister is one of the joints where I guarantee you will love the show as much as I did. And with that being said, Let me know how y'all feel about this. Mess with Sister Sister like I did, or you know, is it one of your favorite shows? Do y'all love the theme song? Because I'm not really a big fan of the theme song, and I've said this many a time. So, with that being said, my name is Oscino Fly, and I'm out. Peace.
Fancy ass man wear glove of rings, flying around town in a tub of wings. Found out how to make love to fiends. He mixing that fudge with the drug of dreams. She too teenage to have a drug of choice, but she fuck with that Royce like she love Detroit. She rolled.
Pharaoh.